brain science company has implanted a device into a human for the first time. The unidentified person received a brain chip implant Sunday, and Musk says they are, quote, recovering well. U.S. Food and Drug Administration has given Neuralink clearance last year to conduct its first trial to test its implant on humans.
Well, for version 1 of the device, it would be, helps cure, say, eyesight, like give you, returns your eyesight, even if you've lost your optic nerve. If the development continues to accelerate, then maybe 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
That's quick. That's really quick.
That's the best case scenario.
No talking anymore.
Neuralink is keeping pace with the fast-changing AI technology. Elon Musk just revealed groundbreaking details concerning Neuralink that will leave you awe-inspired. There's not much needed to introduce Neuralink, Elon's company that promises to create human cyborgs. It's common to note that you'll only expect a simple chip in your brain as far as Neuralink is concerned, but Elon Musk has more to share. Check this out.
Well, for version 1 of the device, it would be basically implanted in your skull. So, but it would be flush with your skull. So you basically take out a chunk of skull, put the Neuralink device in there. You'd put the electrode, you'd insert the electrode threads very carefully into the brain, and then you stitch it up, and you wouldn't even know that somebody has it.
These electrodes implanted in the human brain are 1,000,000 times more powerful than their tiny microscopic sizes. With these tiny chips, Neuralink expects to take science and neurology a step further in biotechnology. This is how. Science holds out little hope, if any, for quadriplegics, the blind and paralyzed. However, Elon Musk gave details that could make you extremely hopeful about these cases. Have a look.
So it could be something that helps cure, say, eyesight, give you returns your eyesight, even if you've lost your optic nerve, type of thing.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing, obviously. Pretty much anything that it could, in principle, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain, and it could restore limb functionality. So if you've got interface into the motor cortex, and then an implant that's that's like a microcontroller in your muscle groups, you could then create a sort of a neural shunt that restores somebody who's a quadriplegic to full functionality.
You heard that right from the horse's own mouth. Elon Musk unleashed to the rest of the world a tool that will solve practically any disease that stems from the brain. So if we heard him right, that means that Alzheimer's, Down syndrome, autism, and limitless others will find their answers from a simple nanochip inside the brain. Elon Musk revealed there's more for everyone with Neuralink. Let's just say you're done being a forgetful couch potato and you want to ace to a level of Albert Einstein. Well, now you know the solution. Neuralink. This tiny chip is capable of making anyone a modern-day genius, perhaps even better than any other geniuses this world has ever known. We're not just saying this to entice you. As a matter of fact, the chip will give you access to the cloud-based AI information you need. Elon Musk reiterated the genius point by explaining that it is his best resort to counter the ever-advancing AI capabilities. If one day AI decides to wage war against humanity, Neuralink will be a good way to counter this attack. If that sounds absurd to you, maybe this might catch your attention. The tech magnate Elon Musk also wants the chip installed in his head. The Neuralink CEO already has an IQ of 155. What more does he need? All the genius he could get his hands on, and an assurance that he can stand up to a robotic attack. Now that you might be hooked to consider having a chip in your head, what does the process entail? Literally drilling a hole in your skull. Have a look.
So the hole would be small. How big would the hole be that you have to drill and then replace with this piece? It's only one hole?
Well, yeah, the device we're working on right now is about an inch in diameter. And your skull's pretty thick, by the way. So skulls are...
Mine is, for sure.
It might actually literally be. I mean, if you're a big guy, your skull is actually fairly thick. Skull's is like 7 to 14 millimeters. So
That's probably a couple of inches.
A half inch, half inch thick skull ish. So that's a fair bit of our we got quite a coconut going on there. It's not like some eggshell.
Oh yeah, I believe you.
You basically implant the device.
And so it would be like a 1 inch square, or 1 inch in diameter.
Yeah,
so an inch circle.
A 1 inch square is all that's needed to get into your skull. The little chip that will make 1,000 differences in your daily life. There are 2 other exciting things coming with this chip: a Bluetooth feature and an inductive charger. We previously said that Elon Musk is in the business of making human cyborgs, and this just answers it. Otherwise, what would a Bluetooth-enabled chip be doing inside a human head? Considering the stakes involved in performing such a surgery, Elon Musk included a perfect plan to ensure every chip installment is a success. So he hired a bunch of ancient mad scientists? Nope, Musk cannot risk that. He made himself world-class robots that can perform seamless surgeries to oversee the whole process. The tech magnate shared footage of the robot he said would perform these demanding brain surgeries. Of course, he had to add a video demonstrating what the surgery would look like, adding that the test clinic would be in his favorite place, Austin, Texas. If you ask me, Neuralink has achieved a tremendous feat. The company only launched 5 years ago, starting literally from scratch and some billions from Elon's pocket. 5 years down the road, it's performing medical wonders, but the journey was worth it. Thanks to the animal subjects who participated in the trials. We don't know how many animal trials were done. That's beyond the scope of this video. However, you will love to know that one such monkey lived to play ping pong in his head years later. Musk touted the video of a monkey we like to name Pong Pong playing Pong in his head, courtesy of a prior brain implant. The idea of using animals as experimental subjects dates back to 384 BC. However, times have changed and some attitudes have too. The use of animals angered activists. It got even worse after the company admitted that one monkey died during the testing process. But Elon Musk was quick to respond. We do everything we possibly can with vigorous benchtop testing, so we're not cavalier about putting devices into animals. And yes, there are even more ethical issues involved, which we'll discuss in the course of this video. For now, let's continue with Neuralink's success story. Up to recently, Neuralink tried its chip on a human who could play Pong by just thinking about it. It's nothing new to the science world, as a similar experiment was successfully done over a decade ago. The unique thing about this one is what Neuralink wants to do in about 10 years. Check this out.
Really, in the first few versions, all we're going to be trying to do is solve brain injuries. So it's like don't worry that it's not going to sneak up on you. This will take a while.
How many years before you don't have to talk?
If the development continues to accelerate, then maybe like 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
That's quick. That's really quick.
That's the best case scenario.
No talking anymore in 5 years.
Best case scenario. But 10 years more like it.
There you have it. Elon Musk plans to make the entire world silent. Or let's say it this way. The world will be speaking through thoughts. If that is not exciting, I don't know what else is. Is this technology already out there, being used by normal people? Not yet. Before the powerful tech is mass-produced and hits the market, they'll need approval. The US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, noted that the brain-computer interface areas are progressing rather rapidly. They observed rightly. To this end, Elon Musk offered that Neuralink has submitted most of its paperwork to the FDA and could begin human trials in about half a year. But we all know how Musk touts deadlines. It's better to wait and see what will happen when the 6 months are over. Anyhow, you will agree that what Elon Musk has done with Neuralink surpasses what we saw in Utah Array. If you're not familiar with Utah, it is the gold standard BCI that does almost what Neuralink does. If you think about this surgically, Neuralink is more flexible, at least because it avoids blood vessels, which may lead to less inflammatory response. Also, in terms of performance, Neuralink developed a better-to-read signals from the brain, which translates to efficiency. There is a fair share of skeptics against the Neuralink project. The notoriously leading point of most skeptics is the seemingly impossible things Musk says Neuralink will achieve. If the whole of science, with all its sophisticated knowledge, cannot restore full-body functionality, then a tech company could not. Taking from Musk's words, we're fully confident there are no physical limitations to restoring full body functionality. It tends to raise eyebrows. For most, it's unusual for companies in the medical arena to give such flashy representations. Anna Wexler, an assistant professor at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, warned that it's risky to encourage people with serious disabilities to have their hopes up. The surgery could end up incurring more damage than help. With that, Wexler encouraged her listeners to put up the skeptic hat when dealing with Neuralink's audacious claims. On the other hand, Elon Musk has quite a ton of supporters who validate his venture with evidence. One of them is Chen, who specializes in BCI. Chen came out plainly explaining that an implant is a very invasive procedure. He then continued to argue for Neuralink. There are quite a few disorders, such as epilepsy, Parkinson's, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, in which people have received brain implants, and the disorders have been treated quite successfully, allowing them to have an improved quality of life. So I feel that there is a precedent for doing this. Neuralink is just a few inches from being approved by the FDA. The product will be in the market, ready for implants. The ultimate decision of whether to choose or not to choose an implant rests solely with the individual. Now pay attention to this brief explanation. Soon you will understand more deeply about this topic.
Well, let's talk about what you can talk about to what Neuralink is, because the last time you were here, we really couldn't discuss it. And then there was a press release or something that sort of outlined.
Yeah, sure.
That happened quite a bit after the last time you were here. So what exactly is it? How do you do what happens if someone ultimately does get a Neuralink installed? What will take place?
Well, for version 1 of the device, it would be it basically implanted in your skull. So, but it would be flush with your skull. So you basically take out a chunk of skull, put the Neuralink device in there. You'd put the electrode. You'd insert the electrode threads very carefully into the brain, and then you stitch it up, and you wouldn't even know that somebody has it. So then it can interface basically anywhere in your brain. So it could be something that helps cure, say, eyesight, like returns your eyesight, even if you've lost your optic nerve type of thing.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing, obviously. Pretty much anything that it could, in principle, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain, and it could restore limb functionality. So if you've got interface into the motor cortex, and then an implant that's that's like a microcontroller in your muscle groups, you could then create a sort of a neural shunt that restores somebody who's a quadriplegic to full functionality. Like they can walk around, be normal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
maybe slightly better.
Slightly better?
Over time, yes.
You mean with future iterations?
Yeah. Like the $6 million man. Although these days that doesn't
That's
seem like
cheap.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
$6 billion man.
Yeah.
So the hole would be small. How big would the hole be that you have to drill and then replace with this piece? It's only one hole?
Well, the device we're working on right now is about an inch in diameter. And your skull's pretty thick, by the way. So skulls are...
Mine is, for sure.
It might actually literally be. If you're a big guy, your skull is actually fairly thick. Skull's is 7 to 14 millimeters.
So
that's
probably a couple of inches.
A half inch, half inch thick skull ish. So that's a fair bit of we got quite a coconut going on there. It's not like some eggshell.
Oh yeah, I believe you.
You basically implant the device.
And so it would be like a 1 inch square, or 1 inch in diameter.
Yeah,
so an inch circle, like a circular.
Yeah, I think like a smartwatch or something like that. Or
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take this 1 inch diameter, like ice fishing, right? You ever go ice fishing?
No, but I'd like to.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
So you basically take an auger and you drill through the surface of the ice.
Yeah.
And you create a small hole, and you can dunk your line in there. So this is like that. You're ice fishing on the top of your skull, and then you cork it.
Yeah, and you replace that, say, 1-inch diameter piece of skull with this Neuralink device, and that has a battery and a Bluetooth and a inductive charger, and then you also got to insert the electrodes. So the electrodes are very carefully inserted with our robot that we developed. It's very carefully putting in the electrodes and avoiding any veins or arteries, so it doesn't create trauma.
So through this 1-inch diameter device, electrodes be inserted, and they will find their way
like tiny wires, basically.
Tiny wires, and they'll find their way to specific areas of the brain to stimulate.
No, you literally put them where they're supposed to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you should insert.
How long will these wires be?
They usually go in depending on where it is, 2 or 3 millimeters.
So they just find the spots.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, then you put the device in, and that gets that replaces the little piece of skull that was taken out, and then you stitch up the hole, and then you just have a little scar, and that's it.
Will this be replaceable or reversible?
Yes.
Like if someone can't take it anymore?
Yeah,
I'm too smart. I can't take it.
Yeah, you can totally take it out.
And what is besides restoring limb function and eyesight and hearing, which are all amazing, is there any cognitive benefits that you anticipate from something like this?
You could for sure. Basically, it's a generalized sort of thing for fixing any kind of brain injury. In principle, if you've got like severe epilepsy or something like that, it could just sort of stop the epilepsy from occurring. Like it could detect it in real time and then fire a counter pulse and stop the epilepsy. There's a whole range of brain injuries. Like somebody gets a stroke, they could lose the ability to speak. That could also be fixed. So if you've got like stroke damage, or if you lose, say, muscle control over part of your face or something like that, I think. And then when you get old, you tend to, if you get Alzheimer's or something like that, then you lose memory, and this could help you with, restoring your memory, that kind of thing.
Restoring memory, and what is happening that's allowing it to do that? Like the wires, these small wires, are stimulating these areas of the brain, and then is it that the areas of the brain they're losing some sort of electrical force? Like what is happening?
Yeah. So it's like think of it like a bunch of circuits, and there's some circuits that are broken, and we can fix those circuits. A substitute for those circuits.
And so a specific frequency will go through this?
Yeah, just
specific in that is the process figuring out how much or how little has to be, how much these areas of the brain have to be juiced up?
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. So when I say, we've got a shot at probably putting it in a person in within a year, I think that's exactly what I mean. I think we have a chance of putting in someone and having them be healthy and restoring some functionality that they've lost.
The fear is that eventually you're gonna have to cut the whole top of someone's head off and put a new top with a whole bunch of wires if you want to get, the real turbocharged version, the P100D of brain stimulation.
Ultimately, if you want to go with full AI symbiosis, you'll probably want to do something like that.
Symbiosis is a scary word when it comes to AI.
It's optional.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
It's just, once you enjoy the Dr. Manhattan lifestyle, once you become a god, seems very, very unlikely you're going to want to go back to being stupid again. You literally could fundamentally change the way human beings interface with each other.
Yes.
Yes.
You wouldn't need to talk.
I'm so scared of that, but so excited about it at the same time. Is that weird?
Yeah, I think this is one of the paths to, like think like what are like AI is getting better and better. So now let's assume it's sort of like a benign AI scenario. Even in a benign scenario, we're kind of left behind. We're not along for the ride. We're just too dumb.
Right.
So how do you go along for the ride? It's like if you can't beat them, join them. So, and we're already a cyborg to some degree, right? Because you've got your phone, you've got your laptop,
glasses.
You got your
Sure.
electronic devices.
Yeah.
I mean, today, if your phone, if you don't bring your phone along, it's like you have missing limb syndrome. It's like feels like something's really missing. So we're already partly partly a cyborg or an AI symbiote, essentially. It's just that the data rate to the electronics is slow. So, especially output, like you're just going with your thumbs. I mean, like, what's your data rate? Maybe optimistically 100 bits per second. That's being generous. And now the computer can communicate at like, 100 terabits. So certainly, gigabits are trivial at this point. So this is like, basically your computer could do things a million times faster. Or you're, at a certain point, it's like the AI is like talking to a tree. Okay, it's just boring. You can talk to a tree. It's not very entertaining. So if you can solve the data rate issue and especially output but input too, then you can improve the symbiosis that is already occurring between man and machine.
So you can improve it in when you said you won't have to talk to each other anymore. We used to joke around about that. I've joked around about that a million times on this podcast, that one day in the future there's going to come a time where you can read each other's minds.
Yeah.
And
well,
you'll be able to interface with each other in some sort of a non-verbal, non-physical way where you will transfer data back and forth to each other without having to actually use your mouth and make noises.
Exactly. So what happens when let's say you've got some complex idea that you're trying to convey to somebody else, and how do you do that? Well, your brain spends a lot of effort compressing a complex concept into words, and there's a lot of loss, information loss that occurs when compressing a complex concept into words. And then you say those words are then interpreted, then they're decompressed by the person who is listening, and they will at best get a very incomplete understanding of what you're trying to convey. It's very difficult to convey a complex concept with precision because you've got compression, decompression. You may not even have heard all the words correctly, and so communication is difficult. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Cool Aunt Luke.
Yes, and there's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
There's an interpretation factor too. Like you can choose to interpret certain series of words in different ways, and they're dependent upon tone, dependent upon social cues, even facial expressions, sarcasm. There's a lot of variables.
Sarcasm is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've said is like that there could be potentially a universal language that's created through computers that particularly young kids would pick up very quickly. Like my kids do TikTok and all this jazz, and I don't know what they're doing. They just know how to do it, and they know how to do it really quickly. Like they learn really quickly, and they show me how to edit things. And it's if you taught a child from first grade on how to use some new universal language, I mean, essentially like a Rosetta Stone, and something that's done that interprets your thoughts, and you can convey your thoughts with no room for interpretation, with clear, very clear, where you know what a person's saying, and you can tell them what you're saying, and there's no need for noises, no need for mouth noises, no need for these sort of accepted ways that we've sort of evolved to make sounds that we
Sure.
all agree. We through our cultural dictionary and
Right.
we agree or certain. We could bypass all that,
Yeah, I mean, you can still do it for
fun?
sentimental reasons.
right? Like campfires.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need campfires. You don't need to roast marshmallows. It's kind of fun.
Right.
So yeah, I think you would, in principle, you would be able to communicate very quickly and with far more precision ideas, and language would. I'm not sure what would happen to language. But you could probably, in a situation like this, that you would be able to just, it would be kind of like the Matrix. You want to speak a different language, no problem.
Right.
Just wire it, or just download the program.
Whew. Right. So, at least for the first few iterations, we'll just be able to use. Like, I know that Google has their some of their Pixel buds have the ability to interpret languages in real time. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, you can hear it, and it'll play things back to you in whatever language you choose. So to be something along those lines.
Yeah.
For the first few iterations.
Well, the first few iterations are. I mean, what I'm talking about is like in the limit over time. You know, with a lot of development. The first few iterations, really, in the first few versions, all we're going to be trying to do is solve brain injuries. So it's like don't worry that it's not going to sneak up on you. This will take a while.
How many years before you don't have to talk?
If the development continues to accelerate, then maybe like 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
That's quick. That's really quick.
That's the best case scenario.
No talking anymore in 5 years.
Best case scenario. But 10 years more like it.
I've always speculated that aliens could potentially be us in the future, because if you look at like the size of their heads and the fact that they have very little muscle and they don't use their mouth anymore, they have this tiny little. I mean, the archetypal alien that you see in like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they're like if you went from like Australopithecus or ancient hominid to us. What's the difference? Less hair, less muscle, bigger head, and then you just keep going. 1,000, 1,000,000, whatever year, or 5 years, whatever happens when Neuralink goes online, and then we slowly start to adapt to this new way of being, where we don't use our muscles anymore. We have this gigantic head. We can talk without words.
You could also save state. And
Save state?
Save state, like save your brain state, like a saved game in a video game.
Whoa. like if you want to swap from Windows 95
Well,
to like you
hopefully a little better than that, but yeah.
I think we are Windows 95 right now.
From a future perspective, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could save state and restore that state into a biological being if you wanted to in the future. In principle, there's like nothing like from a physics standpoint that prevents us. Now you'd be a little different, but then you're also a little different when you wake up in the morning from yesterday, and you're a little different. In fact, if you say like you 5 years ago versus you today, is quite a big difference.
Yes.
So you'd be substantially you. I mean, you'd certainly think you're you.
But the idea of saving yourself and then transforming that into some sort of a biological state, like you could hang out with 30-year-old you.
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
That's so weird.
I mean, just think like how your phone you can record videos on your phone. Like, there's no way you could remember a video
Right.
as accurately as your phone or a camera, could. So, now if you've got like some version 10 Neuralink, whatever, far in the future, you could recall everything, just like it's a movie,
Crystal clear.
Including the entire sensory experience,
Emotions, everything,
and play it back. And
Do you think you'll be able to
you
share?
can edit it.
Edit it.
Yeah,
So you can change your past?
you could change what you think was your past. Yeah,
Well, so if you had like
this
a traumatic
whole thing right
experience-
now could be a replayed memory.
It could be.
Yeah.
It may be. What's the odds? of this being a replayed memory? If you had a guess. It's more than 50%.
There's no way to assign a probability with accuracy here.
Right, but roughly. If you just had a gut instinct.
Well, I don't have a Neuralink in my brain, so I'd say right now 0%. But at the point at which you do have a Neuralink, then it rises above 0%.
The idea that we're experiencing some sort of a preserved memory is, even though it's still the same, it's not comforting. Right? For some reason, when people talk about simulation theory, they talk about the potential for this currently being a simulation. Even though your life might be wonderful, you might be in love, you might love your career, you might have great friends, but it's not comforting to know that this experience somehow or another doesn't exist in a material form that you can knock on.
Feels real, doesn't it?
Feels real, but if it's not, but the idea that it's not is for some strange reason disconcerting.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it should be disconcerting, because then if this is not real, what is?
Right.
But the there's that old sort of thought experiment of like, how do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Right now, here's the thing: you are a brain in a vat. Then that vat is your skull.
Yes.
And everything you see, feel, hear, everything, all your senses are electrical signals. Everything.
Question to you is, would you want to have an implant? Feel free to share your views in the comments section below. To this end, thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can always get a notification when we post the latest and most exciting tech and space news that you would not want to miss. Till next time, cheers.